Hey you guys, so this particular video, I had to do a little bit of amended video here because the company UGEE contacted me and they said, hey, just hold off on posting the video because we are updating all of our tablets to have 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. So this video that you're going to be watching here, I had posted it earlier and they had me pull it. Now they're allowing me to post it with some Black Friday links down in the description. So also they wanted me to make sure and let you guys know that all of their tablets, all of them going forward, will have 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. That includes the lowest to the highest level of their product line. And this particular video, which I'm going to be reviewing, the M808, also has the 16,000 levels. So now, whenever I did this video, obviously it didn't have the 16,000 levels, but at the end of the day, you know, it's still a good tablet. So let's get to the review and enjoy the process. You guys, welcome back to Michael Clarida Arts. It is so exciting. Man, what a time it is. So fall here in the mountains, of course, temperatures are getting lower, which is always nice. I can't believe how hot it was this year. But you didn't come here for a weather report. You came here because of the thumbnail, right? So I have been reviewing a lot of products. I like to do these in chunks because of my workflow. I've just got so many deadlines, and for me to sit down and do a review every day, it just doesn't make sense, right? So I have to do them either all at once or I have to do them sparse, right? Just here and there. And today is going to be no different, right? So the UGEE people reached out to me and they said, hey, we have a brand new product and we'd like you to have a look at it. You know, I just got through reviewing one of their smaller tablets recently, and I thought it was great. One of my viewers said, I was waiting for the line test. And, you know, in the midst of me doing things for the video and drawing and getting everything set up and unboxing and everything, and the deadlines, I missed the line test. And even though I think the line test is a small representation of exactly what the tablet is capable of, it is probably a necessary thing within the context of the review. So we will be doing a line test today. The line test really isn't so important on these on a product similar to this and the last one I did, just because of the technology. You know, it doesn't have to do with certain factors, right? Whenever we do a line test on like a Surface device or something like that, it has to do with the digitizer of the screen, it has to do with palm rejection, it has to do with the speed of the processor and all those other factors. Whenever we review a digital drawing tablet, so something that sits on the side and is paired with a host machine, that drawing test isn't as important, I would say, especially within the past 3 years, because all those technologies have really kind of leveled out and some of the more budget-minded companies have started doing really good things. So that being said, like I said, UGEE reached out to me. That's UGEE, UGEE, very interesting name. And they said, hey, we've got a brand new product. It hasn't even been released, and we're interested in you having a look at it. And that is the M808 drawing tablet. I love it whenever companies put artwork on their boxes. It's just awesome. This is probably a budget-minded tablet. I went on Amazon, and of course, you can't even see how much it costs because it's not even for sale yet. This particular tablet, let me see, fashionable and colorful, 8 shortcut keys, 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity. That is important to note because that is kind of the industry standard. One company has stepped out and doubled the pressure, which it was I did review that tablet. It was an interesting experience. I didn't really see a gigantic difference because I think the companies that make these tablets realize that they can increase the pressure exponentially, but what is the return you're going to get, right? Is it really that much more sensitive? Is it that much better? And that's why I think UGEE is sticking with that 8,192 because it's good enough, right? You don't need to. It's like polishing a car. How much polish can you really polish a car? Paper-like surface, so it's got a surface on it that's texturized, which is really cool. Let me see. I'm trying to see the size of it. Dimension, everything's in millimeters. So we'll have to take our trusty ruler out to measure it. But it's really cool. They asked me what color I wanted. I said, just, you know, give it to me in black. I believe that's the color specified. So let's go ahead and get started. We will be doing a drawing today. We will be doing an unboxing today. We will be doing a line test today. So hopefully those three things will kind of skew you in a way that puts a positive spin on this particular product review. If you are interested in me doing any reviews, then please contact me via email in the link somewhere on my YouTube channel. You people who know that, you know, are interested in me doing reviews, you can contact me, just as long as the product is catered towards the drawing experience in some capacity, right? I don't do reviews for, first of all, obscene products. I don't do reviews for products that don't lend themselves to the artistic experience. So if you have that, don't contact me. But if you do, I'm ready for you. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the review for the UGEE M808 digital drawing tablet unboxing and drawing and line test review. Okay, let's get started. And always one of my, I don't know, it's not least favorite, but unboxing to me is one of those things that, since I am a product designer, I'm uber interested in a lot of the packaging, and I have to realize that you guys could a lot of times really care less about that stuff. I've had a couple people like, yeah, you spent 14 minutes on the box. Yeah, my apologies for that. You guys just want to get in there and start using the product, which I completely understand. But, you know, from my standpoint, there is a lot of effort that goes into creating boxes, creating packaging, the overall experience. And, you know, I've actually, you know, been kind of guilty of saving boxes to the point where my, you know, family's like, dude, you need to get rid of some of those boxes. And I'm like, but they're so cool. Anyway, I digress. So overall, the print and finish is really nice. The quality of the printing's nice. I mean, definitely for a product like this. I don't have a price for this currently. But just based on size, I can't think that it would cost more than $100. Hopefully it wouldn't. But you never know. So overall, we got a clamshell box here. Very nice. This unit right here, nice weight to it, heft. This is the star of the show, of course. Let's go ahead and put this to the side. Then we look at the peripheral stuff. So this is interesting. Sometimes I guess that may have been a power supply or something. That's interesting. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so this probably was utilized for a different device. This might have been a power supply or something along those lines, and they just went ahead and repurposed, which I think is fine. It's not a big deal. Here's the pen, so let's go ahead and get that out. Let's go ahead and get this out. All right, here is the documentation that comes. You know that I love that sound. Oh, the plastics that are used sometimes, oh, just get under my skin. Let's get rid of it. Blech. Okay, so here we go. User information, warranty card, warranty policy. We're not going to go through that. If you're interested, you can definitely look at that. Here's the quick guide for the M808 and 908 drawing tablet. Don't know anything about the 908. I surmise that it's probably bigger, possibly. The quick guide, USB-C port, directional key, shortcut keys, status shown by the white indicator, so on and so forth. This is information that I will read off camera. Here is the wonderful USB-C that goes into the standard USB. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look at this. Okay, so here's the nibs. Here's the nib remover. Boop, boop. That's the sound right there. Whenever you take it out, you have to go boop, boop, whenever you do it. All right, and here we are with the pen. So standard pen. Little debossed logo right there. Looks like it's in 3 pieces for assembly. It's got a tapered barrel, but not too much. The nib sticks out quite a bit, and it's a little springy, which is nice. It's got a 2-button rocker, and it looks like it has an eraser. That is something you don't see too much of these days. And of course, we come to the star of the show. It's white! What? White? I didn't order white. What is this? White? I never do white. Ha. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I didn't order white, but it is what it is. So overall, man, nice quality. It's kind of weird. That's interesting. It's like a sandwich. And I don't know. It is flat. I'm looking at it, and it looks like it goes up a little bit like this, which would not be great overall. Okay, little rubber doos. These are called rubber doos, for those of you who are not in the know. They prevent the tablet from sliding on hard surfaces, which is nice. And here is a little pen holder. We'll stick the pen right in there. It just goes in there so nicely. Oh, yes. Now, I'm looking for where the USB plugs in. Okay, so what I'm seeing right now, here's the deal. So this goes into the unit. We'll go ahead and undo this from the twisty tie. And we're going to plug this into my Surface device because I already have the driver from the last tablet for UGEE that I reviewed. So this plugs into the side, which I think is just fine and dandy. And then, of course, this goes boop, into the host machine. So one of the things that I'm going to, just note right now, this is old technology. Really it is. And the reality is this is a brand new product. That decision had to be made. I didn't know if it was a cost cut because a lot of the new devices coming out don't have this particular technology, this old school USB technology. They have the current USB-C, which also kind of begs the question, why would you use this technology when I think the EU requires, maybe that only has to do with power and not peripherals. Anyway, I'm disappointed to see this particular connection, but you know what? We do have dongles, and they didn't even include a dongle, which is also kind of peculiar. Huh, interesting. Okay, so here's the scroll. It's not a scroll. It's a wheel, but it doesn't turn, so it just has little rockers, quick keys. So 4 and 4, so 8 total. And then here is the... I'm supposed to peel that off. Let's see. Okay, here we go. It's always very satisfying whenever it peels off nicely. So overall, fit and finish, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Of course, I don't know how much it costs. But, I mean, I've never seen this type of flange before. That is interesting. It doesn't have like a uber solid feel, but it doesn't feel flimsy. So, I don't know, like I said, 7 out of 10. But you know what? Just as long as it works. And why I say 7 out of 10, especially as it applies, that's one of my buddies, as it applies to this particular SKU of product, is this product probably will be sitting on your desk, right? Getting loads and loads of work on it. Loads and loads of work. So it being white, you have to be concerned with any type of oils that'll kind of be deposited on here. That'll obviously take time, but also using it and transporting it. So if I want to use this and transport it somewhere, I have to bundle it up, stick it in my bag. And in terms of fit and finish and quality, I just don't know. I mean, these edges, I've never seen edges like this. It looks like, I mean, you could pry it apart pretty easy, which I would not do, of course. But anyway, let's go ahead and plug it into the PC and do a line test. We can line test. And then we'll start drawing on it and just see how the UGEE M808, how it drives, and overall, see how it does. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I've installed the driver. I did have some challenges, and this is something that I've noted before with the UGEE tablet driver. I was unable to install the XP Pen driver that powers the Quickie remote. So that is kind of a bummer. I've run into that issue before with the UGEE driver being a newer version of the XP Pen, and it kind of overwrites it. I do have other Quickie remotes, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to get on with the testing. So here's the driver, very simple, very elegant. If you have more than one UGEE device, you can select it over here on the right-hand side. In addition, you can program the rocker button here on the pen and the eraser. It's kind of an eraser, which is very nice. So here's the interface and the quick key remote programming interface that you can go in and change the quick key remotes for the M808. I think that's fantastic. I think that the reality is sometimes you want to be able to utilize these quick key remote or the quick keys here on the tablet, and I think that's great. I don't really do that. I'll either use a quick key remote or I'll use the keyboard. I've just got lots and lots of years of muscle memory, and at the end of the day, doing something a little bit new is a little bit challenging, and I just don't have time for that. So, but the option is there for you guys to do that. You can change the work area if you like. And again, you know, going in and changing and selecting what program the tablet interfaces with. So currently I've got Photoshop launched. And what the tablet driver does is it senses all the programs currently running in the background. So you select which program you want the tablet to interface with. And currently I want it to be Photoshop. So now I can program all of the quick keys to that particular program, which is really nice. And also I can change the pen pressure setup. I like my pen pressure to be a little bit harder. And, you know, you can change it, gosh, all the way over here to the left, to the right, softer, harder, whatever you like, as it pertains to Photoshop. And I can do a little test right here, which is really nice. You know, this is pretty standard stuff. And if I want it to be a global setting, see, I clicked the global setting here on the right-hand side. I like the global setting to be just a little bit softer. So until I change it in a particular program, here we'll go back here. Here's Photoshop, and it keeps the setting as I need it. And if you like, you can actually export the configuration here, and you can put a date on it. Let's say 9_23. And what that will do is it will actually preserve my settings. Successful. So if the driver gets updated or if something happens to my computer, I can go back to that backup, or I can go to the configuration, because on PCs, the desktop or whatever you specify goes to the OneDrive cloud. So that's pretty nice. So now that we have that set, we're going to go in and we're going to do a line test. Now, I failed to do this on my last review for UGEE, but I got into the minutia of the drawing, and at the end of the day, that's what I really want to do. But I had a couple people say, hey, I was waiting for the line test, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to the general brushes, because a lot of you guys don't have my eclectic brush sets here, and that's completely fine. So we're going to go to the hard round pressure opacity, actually hard round pressure size. Now let's go to the hard round. Now I do have, let's go ahead and zoom in. So one of the things with these tablets that happens very frequent is some line wiggle. That's funny. Some line wiggle. And that is indicative of a lot of the technology out there currently in the marketplace. This particular device, the host machine, is a Surface Laptop Studio. It isn't the most current iteration. This is the, I believe, 2022 version. The Surface Laptop Studio 1. I know they've coming out with 2. And even this particular device, with its lovely drawing capability, there is slight line wiggle whenever you do a line test on the Surface Laptop Studio using the Pro Pen 2. However, since I'm utilizing the UGEE M808, if I go in and I start drawing, now you see a little bit of wiggle, and that's called an organic wiggle. And that primarily happens because of the disconnect between the screen and the tablet, right? If I was drawing on the screen and I had a ruler on the screen, things might be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I've got a trusty metal ruler right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a line. Unfortunately, I can't use metal. Metal interferes. Wow, that's fascinating. I've never seen that before. Metal interferes with the tablet technology. Maybe there's a magnet, some kind of magnet, the EMR, since this is EMR technology. So I'm going to have to use something a little bit different. So, straight edge. What am I going to use for a straight edge? Okay, I found my lovely wooden ruler. Now, it does have a metal side, so we're going to ignore that. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can't get a nice straight line. Okay, that's lovely. Then we're going to do the horizontal line test. I'm sorry, the vertical line test. Straight as an arrow. Arrow's not really straight, by the way. And the lovely diagonal. Now, the diagonal is important because that's when any type of digitizing wiggle will happen. And what you'll see is you'll see like that. Now, I'm doing that, by the way. That, and so forth. And that happens because there's spacing between the digitizing sensors. And this is indicative of some of the in-trig technology that's out there, as well as some, not so much the EMR, which is what this is, but some of the other technologies. If you're having this type of anomaly, then you're definitely being subject to the digitizing wiggle. But the UGEE M808 doesn't seem to suffer from those. So we're going to do just me drawing a straight line down. Again, you see a little bit of a wave, but that's because I can't, it's very hard for me to draw a completely straight line without some type of hard surface to go against. Right? So very nice. And the all-important side test, even going really slow. Now, you see stuff like this, but again, that's because of my hand and that disconnect between the screen and my hand and me drawing and looking at the screen and drawing here on the surface. So if that makes sense. So again, the diagonal, and then we'll go back to the trusty ruler. Okay. Because I want to be fair. Completely straight. So basically, I can't discern a wiggle at all. There is no wiggle as it pertains to drawing of a line with the M808. So now we get into a different type of test, which has to do with tapering. So in Photoshop, in Sketchbook Pro, and some of those other, or even Illustrator for that matter, pressure sensitivity is a really big deal. And whenever you're drawing, you don't want to have shoestringing, which happens. Let me see if I can emulate shoestringing really quick. Let's get a hard round pressure size. Okay, here's a really good brush to do that. Let's go ahead and increase brush size. That's a pretty good size right there. Okay. So let's say if I were to draw, and then come out really quick. So you can see a little bit right here. You see that? So it looks like a shoestring, right? So the pressure cuts off really quick right about here, and then it tapers to almost nothing. So this is a little bit, looks like a little bit of shoestringing. We're going to try it again. So again, it's hard, and unless I have a mechanical device to emulate drawing, it's hard for me as a human being to really get an exacting, right? Here's where I go soft, here's where I go medium, here's where I go hard, and here's where I go soft, medium, and so on and so forth, and it tapers. So a lot of times, that's why I don't like doing tests like this, because everybody's going to be different. Everybody has a different drawing style. Everybody has a different speed. The technology might be very similar, but Photoshop, the computer's going to be different. So take this test as kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? It's just another layer of decision-making facet that maybe you can use whenever you start evaluating tablets versus one versus another. Now, whenever it's bad, whenever you see it's really bad, you'll see it like this. And then it'll be like, oh, like that right there. So right here, again, it stopped. The pressure curve stopped and it started doing its own kind of algorithmic thing. What I don't like seeing, and again, this might be a brush, is, I go really soft. Let's go really soft, really soft. We're going harder, harder, harder. Whoops. See, that was my fault. See, that's why I don't like doing this test. Harder. Okay, I'm trying to get a nice, even, there we go. Now we're full on pressure. This is 100% pressure. And I'm going to try to taper it off. Now, what I'm seeing, and this is just by experience because I've evaluated quite a few tablets, I'm seeing some mechanical break-offs. That means within the algorithm and the communication between the pen, the tablet, the computer, all of that stuff, you're starting to see the digitizer kind of make decisions for you. So like this right here, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Those two areas are kind of concerning. Now let's go ahead and switch brushes because I'm one for transparency. Let's go, because this is hard round pressure size. So let's do hard round pressure opacity and flow. Okay. So this is more or less a better representation of a drawing / painting brush, right? I never want to be one who doesn't kind of evaluate multiple brushes as it pertains to, the drawing experience. We don't use one brush, or at least I don't. So let's go ahead. We're going to try it again. Nice flow. 100%. Now I'm tapering off. Okay, so we're starting to see very nice. Okay, so again, me not being a robot, I don't have exacting pressures for going up to maximum and down for maximum. So this is acceptable. This is beautiful. I mean beautiful. Now me coming down, up to maximum pressure, you can see right here, I started pushing a little bit further. Again, me being a human being, I don't have that robotic exacting nature to myself. So I got to 100 pressure right here, 100% pressure, 100% pressure. And then right here, you can see right there, I started tapering off, and right here. Now, this is very good. This is within the acceptable parameter. Now, that earlier brush, again, we all use different type of brushes, so it's very hard, I think, in terms of the line test to really have it validated as a standard measurement. You can't really utilize that. That's why I do drawings with these tablets. It's very important that you understand as a consumer that, first of all, the technology is changing dramatically all the time. Second of all, everybody has a different machine. So you watching, even me, this is an i5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM. It's got a video card. I'm running Windows 11. It's the most current iteration of Photoshop. I've got, it's set on maximum performance. So all those parameters, maybe your computer's 5 years old. So you drawing might be a little bit different, and your computer might not be able to keep up with that pressure variable. So I just want you to be aware. So the third brush that I want to utilize is going to be a textured brush. Now the textured brush it's got a texture in it, so there's going to be a rendering time involved, and that's going to really play with, let me see if I can find it. That's going to really play with the capability of your computer, right? However, I want to make sure that you, hold on, where is it? So even that's really good. So I just did a little really fast scribble with my texture brush, and we're going to zoom in. And you're going to see, right? Started out really light, slight shoestringing, not bad. Then we get here and we get a nice little pressure divot right there. Come around. This is what I'm most interested in. You're seeing light, medium, heavy, heavier. This area right here is really nice because you can see the texture. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. 100%. Now we're kind of fading off. We've come here and we're not. Some other tablets will actually, you'll see a big blob right there because I've come to the corner. And typically whenever you change direction, that's also going to be an issue. But this one looks really good. Nice. Goes really light. Again, you can see as my stroke goes in, it curves. Very nice. No shoestringing there. And then curve right there and all the way to absolutely nothing. You can see as I go, and it's just beautiful. So that's why, right, whenever I say I don't quote unquote like the line test, you can see that this tablet performed different based upon the brush, right? And some brushes, the settings are really catered to sketching and drawing. Some are catered to painting. Some brushes are designed different, right? So you have to understand that, again, the line test is not the greatest representation of a tablet's capability. That's why I always like to go in and do a drawing because it shows you exactly what the tablet is capable of as it pertains to my capability, right? This has 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity. That has been the industry standard for a while. And even with those levels of pressure sensitivity, right, we think that more is better. And you have something called diminishing returns, where the pressure sensitivity is null and void. See, the pressure really only happens whenever you start getting really big, right? Whenever you draw small, you no longer... that pressure variable no longer really matters. It might have a little bit of more sensitivity, but the reality is you're not going to see it. Where you're going to see the pressure sensitivity is when you get the brush really big, and now that 8,192 levels, right, of pressure sensitivity, whenever it comes to a big brush, right, this is a 5,000 pixel brush, right, and even... I don't even think my computer can handle that. So let's go ahead down to, let's do 2165. So I'm seeing, see, I've got taper on. So let's turn taper off and pressure is on. So taper's off. So I'm seeing some nice pressure here, guys. This is a very good tablet, right? So we're going to get rid of that blinking. That blinking, by the way, has nothing to do with the tablet. That is a flaw inside of PC Windows. And Photoshop, whenever the menus are there. I think it has to do with the shared graphics. So we're going to go ahead and taper on. We're going to go ahead and push. You can see, look at that. Now we're going to go to 100%. Now I did see quite a big drastic, so we're going to go ahead, taper off, taper off, taper off, taper off, and nothing. So this right here, let's go ahead and change the size because I need to... Okay, so this area right here, so we started out real nice. Then we see some nice here. This right here, not so nice. Right? Then we're coming here, 100%, and here. Then we get medium, and we get all the way to light. Again, this is one of those kind of situations where me not being a robot and not having the exact pressure curve all the same, going from light to dark to light, you're seeing, human flaw. So if I go back, let me see if I can try it again, just for posterity and transparency. I know that this is kind of like grinding. We're grinding, but I want to make sure because the line test is important to some people, right? So we're going to go back to, what did I say, 2200 pixels, roughly, 2500? That's 2874. That's going to make my computer explode. Okay, 2165. So here we are again. So let's do really light. Let's turn that. Okay, that tapers off. Okay. Tapers off, really light. You're seeing that texture in there. Okay. Heavier, heavier, heavier. Maximum. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start tapering off. And light. That's as good as it gets, guys, right? 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity? Absolutely. This is exactly what you would expect from this type of line test. So let's go ahead and say we've done the line test, right? We're good with that. We're going to go ahead and start with the drawing. And, today I think we're just going to do a real simple animal just to show you the capability of the tablet. We're not going to get anything too, complex, but just to show you that the tablet, the UGEE M808, is capable of professional work, hobby work, and the interface is really easy. And, without further ado, let's go ahead and draw. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is basically we're going to do a drawing. That's exactly what this channel's about. So what I like to do is I generally start out in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and make sure that we have the correct brush selected here. As you see, my computer's chewing. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I don't like this. Please stop hurting me. And I'm like, be quiet, computer. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to shrink that down. That's a huge brush, 2,600 pixels. Yeah, so let's turn caps lock off. Okay. So just like I said before, every computer, every interface, right? It's hard for me to sit here and tell you that this particular tablet's going to be so much better than every other tablet because there's so many variables involved. I mean, you saw in the line test, but what I like to show is the basics of, I'll go ahead and get this done. Since I don't have my quick key remote, I'm having to use my gigantic keyboard here, my Microsoft keyboard. And generally speaking, that's not something that I like to do on my Surface here. So let's go ahead, let's go back, let's turn caps lock off. Okay, so I'm in Photoshop. For those of you who are wondering what program, I get that a lot, what program, what brush. So I'm using Photoshop, the latest and greatest subscription iteration. And I'm using a brush from Aaron Blaze's Custom Brushes 1. This is the pack that you can get for free. Just go to creatureartteacher.com and you can sign up for the newsletter and you'll get this whole brush pack for free sent to you, as well as a PDF of elephants. I believe that's the way it was, excuse me, years and years ago. So just because I love drawing monsters and creatures, we're going to do a real simplified version of Frankenstein today. So I've got my brush setting. I've got it opacity 100%. I've got my layer transparency to normal. This is the pastel ZBrush with pressure sensitivity on and taper on. Actually, we're going to turn taper off for the initial sketch. So I have done a lot of creatures in my day. Frankenstein's monster. I've done Dracula. I've done Creature of the Black Lagoon. I mean, all the classic Universal Studios monsters. And I love doing them. The thing is whenever you do stuff like that, there is kind of that normal modus operandi, that normal MO that you're going to have to follow whenever you do stuff like this for it to look like Frankenstein, right? You know, the flat head, you got the flat head, kind of a square face, kind of a, well, not square face. He's got kind of a triangle face, very gaunt looking, and you can kind of work inside those parameters. Of course, you've got the things on his neck, so you can go ahead and just, put those in and continually go and refine the sketch as you go. Whenever I used to teach, I had a very narrow bandwidth of quote unquote creative tools that I thought you should use. And if you didn't use those, you should basically train yourself to use them. And one of them was drawing. And even though this is a drawing channel, not everybody has the ability to draw. Not everybody can do those things. Actually, let me go ahead and plug this in because I'm noticing it's blinking a little bit, and that happens whenever you don't have the power plugged in to the host machine. So there we go. But and I was very staunch about what is going on now. What's going on? Oh, we're on eraser. I don't know why it does that. It's so odd. There we go. I think I accidentally might have hit the eraser button. Anywho, so I really kind of regret some of the things that I used to teach. They were basically, especially in an illustration class, right? Illustration class is supposed to be about illustration. It's not supposed to be about quote unquote drawing. You can illustrate things in a way that is attractive without having the ability to draw. And you're like, well, how does that happen? How do you pre-conceptualize? There's so many ways to conceptualize. You can cut stuff out. You can use simple shapes. I mean, the thing is with drawing, it's kind of the language that illustrators use to convey their ideas. And if you can't draw, there's just a lot of times that disconnect. And I used to get that a lot, especially students coming into the illustration class. I kind of wanted to put kind of like especially since it's the communication way that I do, and say, hey, if you can't draw, maybe you need to take a remedial drawing class, get the basics of drawing. But I've known people that work in the business, especially, in the professional capacity, that cannot draw. And, well, let me revise that. Cannot draw. What does that actually mean? It means that they don't understand form. They don't understand three-dimensionality. They don't understand line. They don't understand things that, illustrators and visual designers use to convey their ideas. And that's not to say that they can't learn them. So, in the context, I remember being frustrated because some students just could not get those concepts. And that was, I should have done things different. And, I at the very end, I started really realizing in my teaching, tenure, I started realizing there needs to be an alternate way to convey to a quote unquote visual artist and somebody that wants to convey those ideas, that it's okay that maybe if they can't draw, they can assemble existing images. And, somehow, or three-dimensionality, maybe they're sculptors, maybe they can create maquettes. Maybe they can do stuff like that. I don't want to limit the creative process to quote unquote people that can draw, because drawing is a skill. It can be taught, but it takes time. It takes commitment. It takes things that a lot of students just, especially in a 14-week course, it's very frustrating, whenever you come from a creative background and you can't convey your ideas effectively. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're a teacher and you're teaching a quote unquote illustration class, give the opportunity for the students to do things in a way that speaks to them. Maybe they're assembled, maybe they're fine artists, maybe, and that's the thing. Art is subjective, is so subjective that saying something is right and wrong, I'm getting to the point now in my career that I realize, I see certain drawings and they speak to me as an individual, but those people creating those images might have a drawing background. Just because they quote unquote can translate life in an effective way that is attractive to you doesn't degrade them any more or any less as an artist. And a person that cannot draw or convey their ideas visually, using a pen and pencil, doesn't mean they're any less an artist, right? I think that we look at people that have a skill to draw and we're in awe of them. And sometimes we just need to look at them and say, that's a really cool skill. You know, what kind of story are you telling? And that's kind of where I'm at now in my life. I want those people that don't have the ability to draw to find their way, and I want to help them, right? So anyway, so far the UGEE M808 is performing flawlessly, especially in a context of drawing, you know, in this environment. This is kind of where these type of tablets shine, right? I connected the last video that I did, I connected it to a phone, or not a phone, I connected it to a Android tablet. And unfortunately, the scaling was weird and it just didn't work out the way I thought it really should. And I was a little disappointed, but you know what? I was able to plug that particular tablet in to a host device, which is my Surface, and it performed great. 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity, again, in this context, works really well. And I just think that overall, you know, these types of tablets definitely have a place if you're a student, if you're a budding professional on a budget. You know, these budget-minded tablets. Again, I don't know how much this one is because it's a brand new unit and it's not on Amazon yet. Hopefully by the time I post the video, I'll get some type of price point and a link that I can share with you guys, because it is a really nice unit. It's not shiny. It's got like I want to say a transparency to it that is very elegant. And the drawing area, it's really nice. I did kind of put down and poo-poo the design of the lip right here, because a lot of times whenever I'm resting my wrist and I'm drawing, it's not tapered down at a very great angle. It is kind of tapered down, but the angle possibly with that hard edge might over time kind of do things a little bit raw. But you know what? You just adjust and put something under it. Maybe that'll help. And at the end of the day, it's not really causing me any issues at all. So Frankenstein. It is, of course, the Halloween season coming up, and I am a huge proponent and lover of all things classic monster. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing a classic monster, Frankenstein, using the UGEE M808. Okay, so I haven't saved my image yet, which is scary. We can't do that. So UGEE M808. Oops. 808 test. I get a lot of questions on computers. I get a lot of questions on brushes. I get a lot of questions on tech, right? And all those things are valid. You know, I think that definitely, you know, you want the right tools for the job. But at the end of the day, the reality is the tools are just that. They need to be treated as that too. They are not a solution to lack of commitment, lack of practice. If you want to get better at drawing, you just have to practice every day. Practice, 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 right? That muscle memory will come with practice. And I also say too, you know, people think that, oh, there's smoothing on here. I don't want smoothing. What is this, Russia? I think that the reality is you know, that disconnect between drawing on the screen. So I'm used to drawing on the screen, right? Instant feedback. And then you have this disconnect between the tablet and here. So you're looking at something and you're drawing, but your hand is down here. It takes a little while to get used to that, just so you're aware. For me, I usually used to say, whenever I taught people, especially coming over from a traditional environment, it takes roughly 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get this whole side, right? This whole side tablet interface down. And you will eventually get it, right? And it is worth it. And I know some people that never go to drawing on the screen because it doesn't work for them. And that's completely fine. I just want you to know that we're all used to drawing or doing things in a way that we were raised, right? If you're used to drawing in front of you and having a sketchbook, if you're used to writing and seeing, right, positive, instantaneous feedback, then I recommend drawing on the screen. Eventually, but if budget doesn't permit you buying, the higher end items, such as a screen tablet, then this is going to work just fine. I use these, this type of tablet for probably the first quarter of my career. And then eventually I moved on to drawing on the screen, having, a display tablet. And I think that is probably where I'll end up staying for the rest of my career. Now, these are great, but again, I think that just for me, I like drawing on the screen. It's got a more positive and quicker feedback situation. So now I will draw in the eye sockets. Typically, I'll draw in the eye sockets first. He's got a kind of 3/4 view, so that brow comes down. And then it goes really up and over. And then come here. Again, it not being an exact representation of Frankenstein, this is going to be my interpretation of this particular creature. And, you can take it how you want. Everything, again, is subjective. You can't really say, hey, it's quote unquote correct, as long as it has all the, all those things that we look at Frankenstein. So this is going to be a little trick here. So those of you who draw a lot know this, especially whenever it pertains to faces. Typically, your head is going to be 5 eyes wide, and you have certain visual cues that will happen with regards to the construction. So the corner of the mouth typically lines up with the eyes, right? Then you have the nose that lines up with the corner. This one's a little bit wrong, but it is 3/4 view. This needs to come in just slightly. 3/4 view. But Frankenstein, of course, being a constructed being, because he's constructed by, his creator, and that's what we have to remember, creator Victor Frankenstein. And, there's some weird anomalies that happen with Frank, right? Maybe his left cheekbone is a little bit bigger than his right cheekbone. Maybe his jaw is kind of skewed. Maybe his head is off. Because, again, we need to reference some of those classic things, but also be interpretive. We want to make sure and have our own creative spin on things. Maybe you want, there'd be a big scar right here or something, right? And you can have a scar. Maybe there's a couple of scars here and there that you can use. Maybe this particular eye is a little bit lower. Who knows? I just want you to know that it's okay to be creative, right? Be creative. It's okay to have fun with your drawing. As I go in and just put in some of these little tidbits here. I'm going to put you guys on time lapse here in a few minutes, but I just wanted to get it to the point where you guys can kind of see that this tablet definitely can draw, right? This tablet at whatever price point it is, comparative price points could be $50, $60, $70, and you can definitely see that it has the ability to do stuff in a way that is good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, since drawings take time, right? Drawings and drawing stuff, it takes time. I'm going to put you guys on time lapse. You're going to watch. What I'm going to do is, I've got a couple cameras going right now, using like this camera, and I've got one over my shoulder. I'm hoping that I can utilize, and I've got, of course, a screen recorder happening. So I'm going to put you guys on time lapse just to get a better I can concentrate on the drawing, not have to narrate stuff. So That makes sense. Yeah, so far, this particular unit, I like it. Well, I always have to say this because I'm going to have transparency. This is not typically how I draw. I usually draw right on the screen. And if you look behind me, I've got, a very large screen, 24 inches, that I utilize. And I have some people that ask, well, what's better? What's going to be better for me? It's going to be different for everybody. But for me, drawing on the screen is going to be something that's a little bit better. And I believe UGEE they offer different models, and I think I reviewed them, right? They have different models, different sizes, and as they progress in the way they do things, I'm sure that they'll upgrade to larger, better resolution, bigger, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on time lapse, and you can watch the process of me drawing kind of a seasonal. I guess you would call this a seasonal illustration, right? Frankenstein, right? A copyrighted character. It is old. You got to understand that after it breaches, I don't know what it is. It's 75 years old after it breaches a certain time, and it doesn't have to do with your corporate identity. I think Disney got it around that because their characters are old, like Mickey Mouse. How do you get around that? But it had to do with their corporate identity, so they extended that copyright protection past that 75 years because it had to do with their corporate identity. So, whatever. But like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, that's probably past the point of copyright protection, and you can illustrate Frankenstein. He's, I believe, don't quote me on that. I'm not really sure about that, so please don't take it as fact. Okay. So, yeah, this is where we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to finalize the line, and then we're going to get into a little bit of color. I'm not going to go overboard today. Technology is something that we look at as a solution, right? A solution. We say technology from smartphones, right? A smartphone. Smartphones to tablets to computers. All those things are tools. They help. Let's go ahead and do this. Get that big old scar on the bottom. That's not on the original, but we're going to go do that anyway. But technology is never an excuse to be lazy, right? And I think that, the whole conversation about artificial intelligence, creating art, that was a whole thing on social media. Say no to AI art. And yeah, say it. But it's still art, right? And that's kind of a question that's going to have to be debated, because I think that, again, whenever you have corporations that want to make money, paying an artist is cutting into their bottom line. And computers being a tool, that's part of the equation now, right? I don't know. I will always be a traditional artist. I will always have tools to create on paper, canvas, or something like that. And the computer is just another tool to me. And I think that even though the computer and AI definitely is not going away, it's not going away anytime soon, and probably will be more prevalent here in the next few years. I think that there's always going to be a cold nature to it. And you can even look at AI art now and see the cold nature, but it will improve and it will get, quote unquote, more accurate and better. And I foresee that there'll be kind of a pushback from companies that want human beings to do stuff. That's because there's emotion there, emotion in the line. And I just think that tools are great, but don't rely upon them to do the work for you. You have to put in the time to get, quote unquote, better. So that's my 2 cents about AI. It ain't going anywhere. So anyway, let's go ahead and do time lapse, all right? Okay, and here's where I landed with the drawing today. So, what did I really think of the UGEE M808? I think it's a capable tablet for those that, don't want to go out and spend a ton of money and, want a tablet that they can rely upon to do illustration, graphic design, even some 3D work, right? I was able to knock this out pretty quick, and I didn't have any hangups in the actual drawing process. Now, my hangups came whenever I tried to interface products that, maybe have interfered with the driver, and that has nothing to do with the tablet itself, right? That has to do with the user. So, do I recommend this tablet? Sure, absolutely. I think that it's definitely got its place in UGEE, its place in the tablet world, and UGEE will continue to build on the successes not only of their I call these peripheral tablets, but also the display tablets, right? Definitely check out UGEE. You can Google them, check out their website, check them out on Amazon, and I think that as time progresses, that the technology will trickle in from some of the other companies that they deal with, XP Pen and Sense Labs, and their presence in the tablet world will grow. Thank you guys, and big thanks to UGEE for providing the tablet, and hopefully you guys got something today, and definitely enjoyed drawing with it. So thank you guys for visiting the channel. And if you like the channel and if you like the drawing, definitely, consider liking or subscribing. And it always helps out. So we'll see you next time, guys. All right. Bye.